The Citizen Services Contact Center is part of government's overall attempt to improve the delivery of government services to the public. Over the last 2 years, the entire public service has been on a journey for transformation. And I know that people would say government is always trying to transform, but there's really a deliberateness in this effort to ensure that we have practical mechanisms that demonstrate that transformation. And in the context of that search and asking ourselves what it is that we need to do differently in that effort to improve our delivery, the notion of the Citizen Services Contact Center was developed as a mechanism where citizens can, from the comfort of their homes, call in, have a central place that they can call in and make queries, make complaints, but importantly as well, make recommendations about how to improve the delivery of government services. So the Citizen Services Contact Center is that one-stop place where they can go, not only to call in, but also as well have people who would either call them back to make sure that they respond to the issue, the complaint, or to the recommendation. So you're not only calling, but you're also as well going to get, as you called it, redress. You're going to get resolution through that process. So the contact center serves as that point that is connected to all of the other government agencies that then can help make sure that we get that response, and not just get that response, but in a good time as well. The Citizen Services Contact Center, it's really structured in order to make sure that it is indeed citizen-centric. So one, what we assure people is that you will either get somebody answering your call within a good time, or you will get a call back. So that is one of the things that we noted in terms of people's dissatisfaction with delivery of government services. Yeah, that they call sometimes and they don't get a response. They never know if their issue is being followed up on. In this process, we're seeking to deal with those kinds of challenges, right? So we're guaranteeing you that somebody will either answer your call or you will get an immediate call back if that call is not answered. So that's the first thing. The second thing that makes it citizen-centric as well is that notion of the resolution. Again, because sometimes you can call and you can make a complaint and you never know if somebody's going to respond, if it's going to go anywhere. What we are attempting to do is to have that follow through for you. Yeah, you make a complaint and we will either give you the information there immediately through the contact center, or if we can't, it is what is called, sometimes it is referred to another department directly, or it is escalated. And there are sometimes, and I really want to explain this notion of escalation, yeah? There are issues that may be legal issues. There are issues of complaints that we can't respond to immediately, that we need to be able to investigate. And those will take a little bit longer to resolve, yeah? So we say 2 to 3 days normally for average issues that we may need to get a response. But if it is a matter that then needs further investigation, that may take us a couple of weeks or so. But what we are endeavoring to do is to just make sure that we will keep in touch with you throughout the process. You will either get a call directly from the contact center or someone else from the direct ministry that is responsible for the issue. The Citizen Services Contact Center, one of the critical outcomes that people can expect to see is that notion of faster resolution, right? So that's the biggest outcome for us from the Citizen Services Contact Center that's been established. That notion that citizens within a specified period of time will be able to get some resolution to the issue or the concern or the challenge that they have identified. I also want to say though, while we concentrate a lot on complaints, we also want to encourage people to submit recommendations, because that's part of the transformational effort as well, right? Not just that people can say this is going wrong, but help us, because we know that citizens themselves sometimes have the best solutions, to the issues, because you're the ones experiencing it, right? So we really want to encourage people to call in, submit their recommendations. And we promise as well to just make sure that they are challenged, that they are channeled through the correct channels, then to be able, for us to be able to hear and act on them. I want to say, this is so serious that the Prime Minister convenes meetings with us. This Citizen Services Contact Center sits under the Commitment for Results Department. And that is the department that, again, is tasked to make sure that we improve government efficiency and effectiveness by making sure that people are able to, through their budget process, identify clear objectives and clear targets, right? So each government department has to do that. and it comes under that commitment for results department. But the Prime Minister sits with us, but not only us, all of the senior permanent secretaries and all of the key officers and managers who are also part of the whole of government process of management. And she asks for reports, on what is happening in departments. She asks for reports from us, from the call center, on what is happening, what are the complaints, who is responding, so that we're doing this from the highest level. This is not just something that government is doing just for so, it's just a one-off effort. But that notion of transforming for citizens is very, very real. There's a level of accountability at the level of the Prime Minister, at the level of permanent secretaries, at the level of ministers, and reporting to cabinet as well. So I really want citizens to feel confident. This is something that we are invested in terms of improving the quality of government services and the delivery. Within the Citizen Services Contact Center, we encourage people to make recommendations. So we take on board those recommendations. So what happens is we actually record all of the calls. So we have that contact center, So we record all of the calls. Somebody is tasked to actually monitor those calls, make sure that we kind of pull out, for instance, if there are going to be key complaints around a particular government agency, right? So we actually know, for instance, how many complaints are coming in for the Barbados Water Authority, how many complaints are coming in for the Ministry of Agriculture. So we know by ministry the complaints and even the recommendations, right? So we have these reports that are pulled. Like I said, somebody specifically tasked to be able to review. Once those recommendations come in, the next place that they would go is to the permanent secretary who is managing the Citizen Services Contact Center, which sits under, like I said before, the commitment for results frame. Then those would have to be escalated then to me as minister, right? And I sit in cabinet. And again, with responsibility to make sure that I report on the operations of the Citizen Services Contact Center. Those recommendations then, of course, when they get to cabinet, that's the highest level that you go to, right? And I want to say that we are so invested in this that ministers themselves are asking, I want individual report. Don't just report to my permanent secretary, report to me. I want to know what is happening in relation to the recommendations that are coming in from people and the level of complaints. I want to know how quickly they are being resolved, right? So I have ministers who say, no. Don't just tell me what the permanent secretary said and report to the permanent secretary. Report to me directly so that I can understand, that I can be invested, and that they can follow up directly. And that's the level of buy-in that we want to encourage across the public service. We want to be able to incentivize the public service as well in this effort, again, to just make sure that when those recommendations come in, when those complaints come in, they're acted on. And we have something coming up. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag for that, but we are planning something to just make sure that we reward those public sector agencies that really have been acting at the really highest level. And I don't want to call or single anybody out, but we know that there are already, we have some shining stars within the public service who we know a complaint comes in and immediately we're getting responses, immediately they're acting on it, a recommendation come in, they would call to find out more. And we're getting that feedback even from people who are calling. I've had clear examples and people have said, listen, I've called, or, I called, nobody then pick up when I called, but immediately I got a ring back. Somebody was calling to find out, to query, and to follow up. And they were so impressed with how they've been handled, so impressed with the responsiveness that they have been getting from the Citizen Services Contact Center. Well, through the Citizen Services Contact Center, citizens can call to make complaints. So they can call and make queries and make complaints on different things, right? So I'll give you an example. Now, we have, for instance, different ministries that have their own contact centers, right? So the Citizen Services Contact Center is not set up to replace those. But say, for instance, and I'm just giving an example, you may be calling the Barbados Water Authority. And I'm not singling out the Barbados Water Authority because I'm also Minister responsible for Water Authority. So I'm not singling them out, just as an example. You may call the Barbados Water Authority and you may not get through, right, to the Barbados Water Authority. You can call the Citizen Services Contact Center. right? As that point of contact. And then what we will do is channel that query. So we have a system that is set up with the Barbados Water Authority that when a complaint, a query, or recommendation comes from the Citizen Services Contact Center, it is immediately prioritized in there. So it jumps there. And then they will be able to respond. So you can make a query that you will normally make to another contact center within government, but you may not be able to get a response immediately. You can do that. So that's one of the ways that we work. The other thing that citizens can do, again, is if you need information. Now, sometimes government announces different initiatives. So like, for instance, I remember, and I wasn't even part of, then I'm not part of the call center, but I remember, an old lady calling in and she just wanted information about how to get her ID and where to go and what times they would be open and these things. You can call the Citizen Services Contact Center and get that information as well. Things that you hear government announce, but you're not quite sure, what's happening, you want more information, you can call us. We will give you the information if we have it, or again, we will link you. So what we have is for all of the government agencies, the Citizen Services Contact Center has, our FAQs. So what we've done is to collate information from all of those ministries so that then we can be able to respond. But again, if we don't have the answer, we'll make sure that we get the answer to you. So that's the second thing. Again, I think that's useful for people who just want information as well. Yeah. We also have our social media account that is set up as well. So again, people can also make queries through our social media. We have WhatsApp, we have email, so multiple channels as well that people can use to access the Citizen Services Contact Center.
Do you have a query, complaint, compliment, or just a simple suggestion relating to a government service? If you do, then the Citizen Services Contact Center, or CSCC, is here for you. What is it? As part of the government's commitment to providing citizen-centric governance, this initiative has been designed to make it more convenient for Barbadians to voice concerns, file complaints, and offer suggestions about government services, all from the comfort of their own homes. You can reach the Citizen Services Contact Center by telephone at 573-7373 or by email at messagegovt@barbados.gov.bb. You also have the choice to WhatsApp the center at 266-4242. The CSCC operates between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday. Again, the CSCC contacts are 573-7373 for calls, message govt@barbados.gov.bb for emails, and 266-4242 for WhatsApp.
I really want to encourage Barbadians to call into the Citizen Services Contact Center. Yeah, it was designed to serve you. It was designed to serve the public. It is part of government's commitment to really improving the quality of our service delivery, improving our responsiveness, and really making sure that citizens can feel that there is another person who cares and will listen to them. Right? That's what the Citizen Services Contact Center is really set up to do. I also want to emphasize the fact that we are committed to delivering that resolution for you. Now, I say that and we are committed to it, but again, emphasizing we may not be able to deliver it on the spot for you, depending on the level of issue. So I'm hoping that people will appreciate that, again, we have different levels of, responsiveness within the process. Yeah. For most things, however, you will get, I would say almost 70%, you will be able to get an immediate response. The others, we will then have to be able to channel. Yeah. But we are committed to making sure that people get that resolution, which is so important as well. The other thing I want to say to people is that, again, you can still and should still call the agencies that you're accustomed to calling, right? So you can still call the Barbados Water Authority directly, still call BRA. We're not intended to replace them. But again, if you don't get through there, then you have the Citizen Services Contact Center. Even if you call us first, then we will link you to those other agencies. We have information on all of the government agencies, right? We call them MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies across government. So there's some agencies that are small, like my division of culture, we don't have a receptionist. Yeah. So you may be calling me recent, but these people don't ever answer the phone. But we have the Citizen Services Contact Center, again, that can make sure that somebody will answer you or give you a call back and respond to your issue. Yeah. And I really want people, and I hope that I've done my job successfully to demonstrate our commitment. When I say our government's commitment in the context of this initiative, the Citizen Services Contact Center. And it, whether you're 5 or 6 or an elderly lady, middle age, whether you're working, not working, Citizen Services Contact Center is there for you. And like I said before, multiple avenues in order to be able to access it via email, via WhatsApp, check our social media as well. And again, somebody will respond to you there if you're asking queries through our social media. So we really want to provide as many access points for everyone in order to be able, like I said, to improve our responsiveness and to improve our delivery. That's our commitment. The Citizen Services Contact Center is actually available from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Mondays to Saturdays, right? And again, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Hope people get those times because again, we're trying to make sure that at whatever point you are, you're going to be able to access the contact center. Yeah. So if you're an early mover, you need to get it done quickly, early in the morning, and then late at night as well. So that's why we have that large time span. And again, noting that not just during the weekdays, but also as well, things happen over the weekend, that Saturday. So we have, again, availability 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for people to be able to call in. And that number, 573-7373, is a number that you can call in for the Citizen Services Contact Center. I also want to say as well, one of the good things about the Citizen Services Contact Center, just in terms of helping people, helping citizens to be able to address their issues and to lead to resolution, again, is the fact that when other agencies may be inundated with calls, again, so we have BRA, and everybody trying to get into BRA to ask questions about what is happening in terms of filing their income tax, and it's completely full and you're frustrated. You have the Citizen Services Contact Center, because what we have done is to make sure that the contact center is manned, absolutely manned. Our contract with the service provider indicates that they must answer the phone within a specified time or give a call back within a specified time, right? So that's non-negotiable. People must have somebody answer the phone, right? So because we have that guarantee, when you're not able to get through to BRA, when you're not able to get through to the Barbados Water Authority, you know for sure that you have to be able to get through to the Citizen Services Contact Center. And I also, again, re-emphasize it. Even if somebody does not answer your call, you should get a call back within a specified amount of time. And we have somebody here within government who monitors to make sure that that happens. And again, I don't want people to say, okay, you got to complain about the Citizen Services Contact Center. But certainly, if that's not happening, that's then where you tell us on social media, because that's managed directly by us within the government, within the Commitment for Results. And you tell us, listen, I call and try to call these people, nobody answer me, and I get a call back, or they only call me back 2 or 3 days later. You tell us that. And then, that's an issue for accountability. But again, it's specified that you must be able to get that call back. And listen, we've had really good success with the Citizen Services Contact Center as well, right? So not just talking it, but really walking the walk in terms of how we are seeking to make sure that people, one, get that answer, but also as well see the resolution to their problems as well. I mean, we've had the case, for instance, and again, I'm using the Barbados Water Authority, but again, as minister, not picking on them, but just using that example. Again, where we had, for instance, for the elderly, they want somebody to talk to. So it's not just about picking up the phone and saying what happened, but they want to talk and want to find out. They want somebody to help them work it through. And so the Citizen Services Contact Center provides that as well. We're not just interested in what's your issue, ma'am. We're going to talk to you. We're going to help you. We're going to find out and get to the bottom if you're not fully clear and give you alternatives. So we've had cases where we've had elderly people who would have called into the contact center. And in this particular example, for the Barbados Water Authority to say, listen, I don't know what happened. I don't know why my bill's so high. How this bill could be so high. It's only me in the house. And we would have been able to pass that on to the Barbados Water Authority. When we pass things on to the Barbados Water Authority, it's not just, okay, where you go back to that source that you perhaps, weren't getting the help initially. We actually track it. Again, just as we have with a service provider, a contract that says you have to respond within a particular period of time in terms of answering the phone and also call back. But we have an agreement with those ministries, departments, and agencies as well in terms of the response time to people's queries, complaints. Yeah? So we track and follow through with that agency, in this case with the Barbados Water Authority, that says, listen, we agreed that this has to be resolved within this amount of time. And if it isn't, then, you gotta let us know. And again, it isn't like, oops, but we actually track, the system actually has flags. So for instance, if that is supposed to resolve within 2 weeks, within a week, within 10 days, and we're not seeing a response, we will follow up and say, hi, don't forget, we sent this to you. Why is nobody responding? Are you on track to be able to complete? Because your 2 weeks in terms of response time is coming up. So the system is trying as best as we can. And we're always monitoring to make sure that things are working. And they will tell you I'm pretty hard as a minister in terms of, if it's not working, you gotta tell me why. We gotta fix this, right? We gotta fix this like within a time that it can make sense. It makes sense in terms of what we're trying to do, but also makes sense for people as well. And again, really, really attempting to make sure that we have the level of accountability within the system that ensures that our main intent, again, which is enhancing the quality of government delivery and also as well our responsive time, actually occurs.